Hey everybody, Professor Snart. Real quick check-in this time, keeping it nice and to the point. Quick reminder about due dates. It's Tuesday afternoon when I'm recording this. It is hot and steamy outside. Yeesh. So we are looking at finishing up Unit 2 for Thursday, August 30th. That's all the main work that we're doing in that unit. And then there's a little reply component that's going to happen no later than Sunday. Again, I've mentioned before, if there's enough people who are kind of getting this early work or the first part of the unit done earlier than, say, Thursday, like a Tuesday or Wednesday, you can always start jumping in and doing replies well before the Sunday date, let alone maybe even that Thursday date. So again, hopefully you're getting used to our due date system here. Real quick look at Unit 2, which is where we're at. Wait for my computer to wake up. Okay, so again, a little kind of description of the assignment here. We're finding 10 sources about how to write, format, write all the components that go into a professional email. We're doing the research now because starting in Unit 3, we'll actually be beginning to write a professional email. I'll talk about that as we get closer to those actual units. So from just a general Google search, I want you to make that list of 10 possible sources and then run those 10 through the credibility test that's described here. So again, thinking about, is the information you're looking at more or less current? And again, the idea of currency really changes depending on what topic you might be looking at. For our purposes, because we're using Google, it's a fairly modern kind of mode of communication and sort of ubiquitous in the professional world. You're probably going to find sources that are current, within the last couple of years. Reliability, this is kind of a circular one, like how do we tell if it's reliable? Well, we just ask ourselves, is it reliable? So there's some things that we can look for, and you're probably going to find in most of the sources that you find in this particular topic that, there's not a lot of what you would guess to be inaccurate information, or if it seems inexpertly or unprofessionally done, it's going to be pretty easy to tell. Does it look professional? This is, again, a sort of tricky one. Our eye can often tell us that, but like, what is it that looks or doesn't look professional? Even things like typos, grammar mistakes, just the sort of quality of the writing can often be a clue about reliability. The authority, is there a source given? So who's taking responsibility for this? Is there ideally like a named individual who's the author of this? And then we can think about, is there sort of biographical material provided on a website about, is this person qualified to write in this topic? Does he or she have, let's say, business experience or some sort of, academic credential that gives them some credibility here? And then purpose. Again, for the most part, we're looking for things that just want to inform us and not really make an argument exactly, or certainly sell us other kinds of products. So you don't have to write any of this down for our purposes right now, for the 10 that you're looking at. It's just a really good kind of habit to get into when you look at sources for any kind of project, school-related or otherwise, to think about, is this like timely information I'm looking at? Can I gauge the reliability? Who's the author? Who's taking responsibility for this? And what's the real purpose behind whatever I happen to be looking at? Not just what it says its purpose is, but what I can, glean the purpose to be by sort of thinking critically about it. So you don't have to write all that stuff out for the 10 sources. You're just doing that, kind of running them through the credibility test in your own mind, really, and choosing the 2 that sort of emerge as what you think are the best. Maybe they're just written well, they're really usable, they have kind of graphic elements or visual things that help, they have good examples, the author seems credible. Whatever combination of things go together to lead you to believe that the 2 that you picked are just the best of whatever the 10 that you've pulled from the millions that you probably find through Google. Then we're going to move on to the brief bibliography assignment. So this is sort of like practice for a much longer bibliography that we'll do as really part of the rest of our course. So again, a bibliography, just a list of sources, and we're going to do an annotated bibliography, which means we're not just listing the sources, but then doing an annotation or like a brief paragraph that goes along with each. So you're starting a new Google Doc. We're going to title it something like, the Unit 2 bibliography assignment. A little quick reminder about sharing so we can access documents successfully. List out all of the 10, and then of course we're going to focus just on these 2, and you're going to produce an annotated bibliography. You can do a little background research here about what an annotated bib actually is. We want to make sure we get the MLA formatting correct so you can sort of review how that is supposed to look. That'll be our kind of the element of citation that we use in this class. And so for the 2 that you think are the best of those 10 that you pulled from your Google search, you're going to create an annotated bibliography. So it's going to be brief, right? Just 2 entries. You're going to provide the title and all the info for your sources, right, in MLA formatting. And then in your annotation, your paragraph, going to be about 150 to 200 words per source. You're going to talk about all this stuff. Obviously, you want to summarize what the source is, give a flavor for kind of like examples that they used or some of the details, but you can't reproduce all of that detail. Again, it's really an exercise in effective summary. And then you also want to give me a sense of, like, having run it through the credibility test, what made this source stand out among the, whole bunch that you might have looked at. Again, it's probably not going to be one single thing, but a combination of factors. And there's really no right or wrong answer here, but there is right and wrong, or successful or unsuccessful, in terms of how well you communicate why you perceive this source to be credible. So again, no right and wrong, but it's not like you can just choose any source and be like, well, looks good to me. It was short, so I liked it, right? We need more than that. Okay, so that's one assignment that we've done. There's no reply component here. You're just producing this annotated bib, and then we will use the discussion board here just to post the URL to your site so I can visit it, but there's no reply component. Then part 2 of our unit here is really applying some rhetorical analysis, and we're going to look at a couple of sample emails. So again, we're going to start by looking at it's just screenshots that I put in, so you can't manipulate this text very well. You're going to start with another new Google Doc, analyzing rhetorical situation. Give it this unit 2, just keeps everything really nice and neat. You're going to look at this email that I received over the summer, and then you're going to, in your Google Doc, sort of do the exercise here in identifying at least 5 red flags that suggest to you that this might be spam or phishing or not legit. And really, at the end of the day, determining if you think this is a legit email or not a legit email, and kind of explaining why. You can read through this in a little more detail. I don't want to go through it word for word. We're going to do the same thing for this other email that I received. Some similarities, but also some interesting differences going on here. And I do remind that you can use the Control V or the Control C, or if you want to right click it and then copy the image, you can then Control V to paste it into your Google Doc, which makes it easier for you to look at, but also kind of a nice just format for your discussion of these things. And then notice that, again, you're going to state, do you think it's legit? You're going to provide your reasons. If you're undecided, that's okay, but again, explain like why you weren't totally sure. And then we're going to post our URL, our document URLs, to the discussion board. And here we do have a reply component, so make sure that you take care of that. Again, we have a little bit of extra time to do the replies so that everyone has ample time to get their initial work in by that Thursday date. Then once you're finished with your annotated bib and your analysis, you're going to build out your portfolio. So with every unit that we do pretty much here, we're going to conclude by building a new page or maybe set of pages. You can just keep it as like a unit 2 block if you want. However you want to do it. Reminder about what we're going to add. And since we've already done the work in Google Docs, you don't have to reproduce or cut and paste or retype anything. Just go into your new page area, double click in a blank area to get this radial come up, choose the From Drive, and then you're just going to be able to choose the files that you created up in these assignments up here. So again, it's a fair amount of work that you're doing, moving from one assignment to the other, wrapping it up with the portfolio that you want to then repaste that portfolio URL. So maybe still getting used to the various components or tools that we use in our course. But right, if you're investing the time, I hopefully have made the assignments clear enough where you're just sort of following the steps, looking for the screenshots, even down here, kind of walking you through exactly what you need to do. So if you've given yourself enough time, hopefully navigating the course is not going to be too much of a challenge. Or if you're sort of hung up on one thing once early in a unit, doing it and getting through it it teaches you how to do it for subsequent units. So you're really more focused on the course content than, just the navigation part. You can always be in touch with me if you have questions or concerns. And again, I'll just remind that, it's a lot of work, but we're in a 3-credit course that just runs 8 weeks. So if you were in a face-to-face class, we would be meeting face-to-face, not just 3 hours as if it were a 16-week course, but 6 hours in the classroom every week. So it gives you a sense of kind of like time on task, right? That would just be classroom time. Forget about any homework time. So again, hopefully things are laid out pretty clearly here. And if you're giving yourself enough time and kind of reading material carefully, you're not running into just like technical or navigational issues. If you have other concerns, you can always be in touch with me. And I promise to make this one shorter, right? It wasn't going to be 30 minutes again, so hopefully I did okay. All right, we'll check in with everybody again soon, and I'll talk to you later.